Welcome back to the Discount Property Investor Podcast. Our mission is to share what we have learned from our experience and the experience of others to help you make more money investing like a pro. We want to teach you how to create wealth by investing in real estate the Discount Property Investor way. To jumpstart your real estate investing career, visit freewholesalecourse.com, the most complete free course on wholesaling real estate ever. Thanks for tuning in.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Discount Property Investor Podcast. I am your host, David Dodge, and today I am joined by a buddy of mine, Mr. David Pupo. Pupo, how do you say it, man? I always screw it up.
Pupo.
Pupo, David Pupo. And David is a real estate investor and a coach, and I've run into David several times at different, mastermind events across the country. And I'm excited to have him on the show today. So, David, what's up, brother? How are you, man?
Hey, man, we are doing as best as that we can. Every day is a great blessing. We got in late from a flight yesterday, but thankfully enough, man, we landed safely, man. It's just a blessing. Sometimes we've gotten some pretty crazy weather here in the last couple of days in Orlando, but hey, man, safe landings. We're a little bit delayed, but I'd rather have a safe landing every time.
Yep, I hear that, man. I hear that. Well, David, do me a favor, brother. I know a little bit about you, of course, but the audience probably doesn't. So, who are you? Fill us in. Give me your bio, brother.
Right. Well, I'm born and raised here in Florida, guys. I love being from the state of Florida, honestly. It's something I take a lot of pride in. I grew up in Fort Lauderdale for a majority of my life, was playing a lot of sports, was somewhat smart enough to be able to get decent grades. So when sports didn't work out, it was something that I started tearing my rotator cuff playing baseball, but smart enough to be able to still get into colleges, right? That was one of those things. Hey, my mom always told me if baseball doesn't work out, and if she told me that at 15, I would have told her she was crazy. Then at 18, I'm like, thank God I got the right grade, right? So I went up to Orlando, went to the University of Central Florida, and I met the love of my life over there, my wife. And we both stayed here in Orlando. She's actually from New Jersey. And I mean, it was something that was really interesting because, when I grew up, I only was grown up with a single mom, and she was so heartbroken that I didn't move back down to Fort Lauderdale. And I told her, hey, the new chapter for me is up here. And luckily enough, my mom has actually now since moved up here. So we have the whole family up here now.
Nice.
Central Florida area. Out of college, I did not have any idea that real estate investment would be something I did. It was certainly something that I felt like I stumbled into with podcasts, Bigger Pockets. I think a lot of people are familiar with it, right?
Oh, yeah.
But I always had family members in real estate, but nobody was doing real estate investments, or at least not that I really knew that was like their full-time job, right? And so I'm listening to Bigger Pockets at my first corporate job outside of college, and I was starting to hate that job. It was something I had no passion for, and I was working 60 hours a week, and it was honestly just exhausting. And somebody hit me with the phrase, and it's stuck with me since then. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And That's where I got to that with that position. And I found myself listening more and more and more and more to real estate investment podcasts, to the point where at that time, I mean, her and I were only dating for like a year, right? So me and Sam, my wife now, I told her, I was like, hey, I think this is the leap I want to take. She knew that I wasn't happy at the position I was in. And I was like, what's the worst case scenario? I'll save up 3 months of expenses and I'm going to go all in. Let me see what I could do in 90 days with it, right? And so that was in 2016. And thankfully enough, man, I haven't really had to look back since then.
That's amazing. What kind of real estate investing are you doing, David?
Yeah, we do wholesaling. I fix and flip maybe about 2 or 3 properties a year, and we have 10 properties or 10 units right now as our rental portfolio. And that's pretty much primarily it. So single family, the portfolio consists of 2 duplexes and 2 houses and a 4-unit.
Okay. Awesome, man. You said some wholesaling. Are you doing any fix and flips at all, or not so much?
I'm not quite the interior designer eye person.
So I've done a couple
flips. Yeah.
Got a lot of challenges.
Yeah. And I've realized that about myself. Like, that's why I like the rental properties a little bit more. It's a little bit more of like a, easy turn. I know that I want some easy white or easy cream, nice durable floors. Let's get it repeated.
Mm-hmm. I love it, man. Why real estate?
Why real estate? Real estate, I was somewhat around real estate my entire life. My mom owned a title company. My aunt was like a really successful real estate agent prior to the crazy recession. I mean, everybody was pretty successful in South Florida until nobody was successful in South Florida when the recession hit. But I had a lot of family members that were in that world. And I started learning the benefits of real estate, right? We're not only talking about like wholesaling has a low barrier to entry. You can go get yourself some business cards tomorrow, send out a couple of postcards and say, now I'm a wholesaler, right?
That's it. All there is to it.
Yeah. But what real estate really ended up doing for me is it gave me the freedom that I wanted to be able to create and be able to also structure the lifestyle that I want. And it's not too bad that real estate, I think, is also, I'm probably being a bit biased here, but it's still one of the most steadfast real investments that there is that God has given us to this date. And the government certainly makes sure of that with how much depreciation you can write off on something that's appreciating simultaneously.
Yep. Absolutely. I agree 100%, man. That's what's up. That's what's up. Okay, cool. Tell me about your marketing. I'm super curious to hear about your marketing. It's something I typically ask a lot of my guests. Just very curious to see, what people are doing. I have a coaching business. I know you have a coaching business, and I'm sure that, one of the main things that you teach your students, I know it is one of the main things that I teach my students, is this is a marketing business, right? And if you don't have any leads, you don't really have a business. And I can't tell you how many people come to me and they say, Dave, I've been trying to do this on my own for 4 months or 6 months or 12 months in some cases. And, one of the questions that I ask them, and this is one of the questions that one of my coaches asked me 8 years ago when I was just getting into this business. How many offers have you made this week? How many offers have you made this month? And, it's shocking that people will say, oh, I've been doing this on the side, or I've been trying to start doing this, or wanting to start doing this, or sometimes they'll even say, I'm doing it. And then my question is, how many offers have you made? And the answer is none. And it's like, well, you're not doing anything then, because this business is all about using paperwork to gain control of properties, regardless if you're going to do rentals or wholesales or wholetails or fix and flips or, sandwich lease options. It doesn't matter, right? It's all the same at the end of the day, right? You got to get your hands on something in order to be able to do something with that thing.
Yep.
So this is a marketing business. Obviously, I'm going down a rabbit hole here. What marketing?
It's all good. No, and that's needed. People
are you
need
doing
to hear it? Yeah, right now we are primarily outbound, but I do see that with how the TCPA rules are and regulations are going.
They're changing.
Right now,
They're changing, bro.
It's crazy. It's become water. It's liquid right now. It is adjusting significantly day in, day out, week in, week out. And like last year, we were doing primarily cold calling, and then we still are really doing cold calling. But I think with what I am seeing with the TCPA regulation, especially here in Florida, texting is a very difficult thing. And if you're doing it outbound to sellers, I think it's a matter of it's a matter of when, not if, you're going to get slammed by somebody. You're going to reach out to the wrong person, and then they're going to tell you, I'm on the do not call. I'm on the do not call list. Now I have now recorded you texting me 2 or 3 times. It is now I'm taking you to court. So I'm slowly making my way out of a lot of the outbound world. We are going to be focusing a lot more on PPC and TV. We want to be really a brand presence for Central Florida. We're going to be focusing a lot more on inbound, but cold calling has been a really good one for people to start off with. You can keep it lean, you can keep it efficient, and you can scale it very well if you know your numbers.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm with you, man. We do both. I talk about marketing, as there's two different types of marketing. There's hunting and fishing. Mm-hmm. And the hunting is it's the outbound reach. If you think about it, right? It's think about you out in the woods with the bow and arrow, just as an example here, right? It's very rare that a deer is just going to come over and just put itself right in front of you and lay down and let you shoot it, right? I know that's kind of graphic, but it's hunting, right? I get it, right? That's hunting, but you got to get out there. You got to go knock on doors. You got to cold call. You got to network. You got to cold text. You got to do whatever it may be. And then there's this fishing. And the beautiful thing about fishing is who's to say you only can have one fishing pole? I can go send 10,000 postcards to people, and I got all these lines in the water, and then eventually some of these bobbers are going to pop, and that's just phone calls coming in. But it's hunting or fishing. It's one or the other. And, in regards to the marketing, to take it just one more level down, you got to have a budget. And that budget needs to either consist of money or time, and often a little bit of both at a minimum. And the time is really the hunting, and the money is the fishing. And the fishing doesn't have to necessarily just be direct mail. It could be, a website with SEO or pay-per-click or a billboard or a radio or television, like you mentioned. Could be bandit signs, right? And bandit signs are going to require time too. It's a little bit of hunting and fishing combined.
Yep.
But you're going to have all these different strategies, but you got to have a plan. Yeah. And that's what I love. So you have a plan. That's amazing. Yeah. I'm doing the same with you. I do have an AdWords account set up. Our budget's nothing too crazy. I think we're spending $3,500 a month right now. So it's, good chunk, but it's not anything too crazy.
Yeah.
We do direct mail to probates. We do driving for dollars. And then we cold call and cold text vacants and absentees, right? So we are also, doing a lot of the hunting, the outbound. Yeah. And I don't want to ever particularly say that I'm going to fully exit it. But I can tell you this, at one point in time, I was sending 2,000 or 3,000 texts a day, and now I'm down to maybe 300 to 500. So, we've definitely scaled back quite a bit. We're much more careful with who we're marketing to. And if they tell us to stop, we make sure that we do, because again, we don't want to be harassing people, we don't want to be annoying people. Now I get it. Marketing is sometimes, or prospecting, marketing, same thing, sometimes can be a little, intrusive. And I personally don't like getting a ton of cold calls or cold text either. So, we do it, but we've scaled back and we've moved more into the fishing side of the business, right? Postcards, AdWords. We've even done radio ads. I've been on and off the radio for about 4 years now. So nice. I love it, man. But you're doing all the things that you need to do to get leads. And I'm sure you're great at teaching this stuff to your students too, man.
Yeah, man. And a lot of the people that we get are here in Florida. And I think you have to be very well aware of where you are at when it comes to the right type of marketing, right? Like when ringless voicemail, not to get too dated, right? But when ringless voicemail became a really big phenomenon in a lot of parts of the country, it became a stupidly hot and a stupidly cold thing really quickly in Florida. The TCPA regulations came in and slammed down really hard, right? When I was going into more of a texting model, I had on really good advice from some of the higher ups that are attorneys and stuff like that they said, enjoy it while you can. In the next 6 months, it's going to be something that is heavily, heavily regulated. And once again, not to date where we're at, but one of the bigger texting platforms just like a few weeks ago just got absolutely shut down.
Who was it?
It was Lead Sherpa.
Lead Sherpa got shut down. Huh? They got shut down.
They got shut down.
So compliance, man, that's how it's almost whatever happens to everybody, right? It just becomes that
somebody wasn't following the right, procedures. And well, I use batch leads for my mostly almost everything in my business. I have a CRM outside of batch, of course, and I have a couple other softwares, of course, but I use batch for most of my texting, and I use batch dialer for my calling. What softwares are you using? Were you using Lead Sherpa?
No, I wasn't using. I have used it before.
I've used it in the past. It's been 4 years, probably 3 or 4. Right. It's been a long time, but I've used it for sure too.
Yeah. So our platforms are Salesforce. So we use LeftMain, which is like their own customized like platform within Salesforce. So
I've heard of them.
Within that, we have SMS 360, and that's where we do a majority of our texting. Okay. And what we do is we also have batch leads. So we pull a lot of our lists and data from batch leads as well. So very, very similar stuff with that. Yeah. So we do that. We use InvestorLift for our disposition process. When it comes to the cold calling, we have it outsourced right now to a third-party company. So they're the ones that are on the dialer. I do believe they use call tools. But I mean, I think
when you outsource it to a third-party company, or they're calling on behalf of your company, but I guess you don't have. Do you have to register yourself like in your EIN and all that, or does that go through their business?
Goes through their business.
That's kind of cool. So there's like kind of a little bit of a wall there, like a liability wall for you.
Right.
You know, I've had lots of callers over the years, on and off. I don't have any at the moment, but I was literally this morning thinking about maybe adding a part-time caller just to do a little bit more marketing, right?
Yeah.
But we are pivoting a little bit more, away from the hunting and into fishing. But just because I'm pivoting doesn't mean I'm going to stop. Like I said, you can't not cold call some of these leads, right?
Right.
So you gotta, even if they call you from like a postcard and you don't get them, I mean, you're still calling them back and it's still cold, right? Until you get them to raise their hand and say, yes, I want you to come view my home. Then it's a warm lead, right? But prior to that, it's still cold. So there's no way to truly avoid it. But, doing it in bulk and in mass is something that we all should definitely be careful about. And I know Florida cracked down on RBU.
Really bad. Yeah.
Really
and I'll tell you what, to go one step further on what you mentioned, I think you have to understand who you are trying to find. And then the marketing is going to make the most sense to it, right? You are not going to, if you are spending a lot of money to do PPC for people that are in multifamily, you're going to blow a budget, because multifamily people aren't the same people than somebody who needs to sell their house now, right? They're different overall avatars. Like I put almost in the same category multifamily and landowners. They're in one category, and then people who are selling single family and possibly up to a duplex in a whole different bucket. And I think that's what a lot of the audience members need to understand. It's who are you trying to attract, and then you contour, you curate the marketing around it, right? Because once again, a land person or a multifamily person is typically like 95% of the time not somebody who's like, I need to sell my 12 unit right now. They're usually in a well-off position. So you got to go hunt for those leads. You got to go find those people, and you got to be able to go that one step further, as opposed to here in somebody using Google is like, holy crap, I'm behind on another mortgage payment. I need to sell this house before it gets foreclosed on, right? And then they're going to go, I need to sell my house fast in St. Louis, Missouri, right? So then you're going to be the one that pops up, as opposed to, I need to go find my 12 units. They don't type it in.
Yeah, that's a great point, man. That's a great point. Well, David, tell me a little bit more about your program, man. I'm super curious. You have like a multi-offer type of a thing? I'm super curious to learn more about this, brother.
Yeah, so as we've been able to make this transition, right, I didn't want to create just a wholesaling course to create a wholesaling course. I wanted to be able to create something where I knew it would bring a lot of value to the people, right? Yeah. And it's just simply called tripleoffer.com. And what it really is, Dave, is simple. I am looking to see if somebody has motivation, what are we creating in terms of solution for them to make sure that if I'm just making this stupid cash as is offer and they don't care about a cash as is offer, I am not blowing that lead. We spent too much time, too much money on all of this marketing and all of this money.
But if they want that cash as is offer, you're going to give it to them, right? You're just not. You're just. Are you not? Is it that you're not leading with it, or how? I guess. How are you determining, to make the cash offer or to make the triple offer or whatnot? Or are you making all offers all the time?
I use a really good one. So here's a really good one for your audience. I like to be able to categorize sellers into 3 real motivating factors. Okay. I want to know what timeline they want to work on. I want to know how much of a convenience factor that they want on this, and what is that price point that they're at. If I can get from those 3, I create kind of like a triangle.
Timeline, convenience, and what's the third one?
Price. That's simple, right? Okay. And I mean, I know Brent Daniels teaches the 4 pillars, right? And that has its reasoning. But what happens with our triangle is where I have, price, time, and then of course convenience is now where I can start categorizing what the different solutions that make sense around it are, right? If somebody is really low on price and they need a very quick timeline, I know that that's going to be my wholesale deal, right? That's somebody that needs a cash as is offer tomorrow, right? If somebody is telling me that they own a property with 100% equity and they don't care if they sell it within 30 or 60, 90 days, they just want retail price for it. Now I know I'm going to be able to pitch them something else. But in our triple offer sequence, we are going to guide them through that entire process. So at the end of the day, they are able to decide what they want, and all three offers work out for us.
I love it, man. That's amazing. Timeline, convenience, and price. And based upon those things, you can kind of put them into a bucket of they're ultra motivated, or maybe we need to approach this a little bit differently. And, and motivation doesn't necessarily mean price, right? Those are different things, right?
100%.
So sometimes their motivation can be to just not have to go back to the property. Sometimes the motivation can be, to get the most money for it. Sometimes it can be to get cash quickly. Sometimes it can be to not have to fix something. I mean, there can be a lot of different things, and it really just depends on, the property, the condition, the person, right? I always tell a lot of my students, there's two types of distress. There's a distressed person and there's a distressed property. And oftentimes we meet people that are distressed themselves, and they also own a distressed property. And, I refer to these as kind of like home run leads. And the reason I say that isn't necessarily for any bad reason. It's a good thing because we're able to help these people. Right. The more distressed situations they're in, the more our solutions look convenient and appealing and look like solutions versus just offers. Like when I'm making an offer to somebody, there's money behind it and I'm buying it at a discount. You want to make money in this business. But really at the end of the day, the offer is a solution. That's really what that is, and people that look at that offer as a solution versus just a number, are the people that I'm typically wanting to try to locate and market to and do business with, because, just making offers to people doesn't necessarily help them out if there's not a problem behind that,
Absolutely. So. Absolutely. And that's why when you're introducing so many like another option or two in front of these people, and let's just theoretically say, like, if you're doing cold calling, I can almost guarantee you're not the first person nor the last person that's called this person, right? I always tell my team this: how are you making sure at the end of that discussion that you have made an impression on this person? How are you standing out? Because I can tell you 80 to 90% of the people who are in the wholesaling market right now lead with a cash offer. And if that person doesn't accept it, they just go, okay, well, I don't really have anything else for you. Sorry. And then that lead goes to the wayside. I'm converting I have 4 deals closing in the next 2 weeks. 3 of them are not cash offers. 1's a novation and 2 are creative financing deals. It's making sure that I understand, okay, this person isn't as crazy motivated by this kind of price point. Does that mean I'm not going to present it? Of course not. I'm going to still show them, hey, if you want the cash, here's what I can offer cash, right?
Yeah, sometimes placing the cash offer on the LOI makes the other offers look more appealing because they're typically higher, right? The cash offer is the low offer. It's also, but the cash offer is a great thing to lead with. At least, it depends on the deal, of course, but most of the time, for me at least, it's a good thing to lead with, even if I decide to offer a different offer that's not necessarily a cash offer, because it anchors. It lets them know, hey, I'm not here to pay retail. Maybe I can if you want to get really creative and be the bank or something like that, or let me take over your payments, but I don't necessarily want to lead with those things. I want to lead with, I'm here to buy this at 60, 70 cents on the dollar, maybe less, cash. And if that works, great. And if it doesn't, all right, maybe I can pay you more. But man, I love that. So tripleoffer.com is where people can come learn more about the program. Is that the best place to reach you if they have questions? Do you have a social or an email, or, if somebody's listening to this podcast and they wanted to learn more, is that just where you would send them all? Tripleoffer.com?
You can go there, of course. As you can imagine, with my first and last name combination, there is not a whole bunch of people named David Pupo. There's one other in the state of Florida, and he's my cousin, actually, ironically enough. So you're either going to find me in Orlando or him in Miami. So David Pupo, you can find me on Facebook really easily. On Instagram and TikTok, it's at Dollars with David. So you can find me pretty easily with that. It's, man, I like being able to help people out with this, because I would see a lot of people that are starting off with wholesaling, and to go back to a point that you made earlier, right? It's a marketing business, but also you need to understand, with all of these leads that you are generating, how are you converting it? Nothing makes sense. You can have all the leads in the world, but if you don't know how to convert them, it's wasted money.
Yeah.
Right.
Agreed, man.
So that's why this triple offer part has made so much sense to so many of my students and people that I help with it, is because they're like, I know this guy wants to sell a property, Dave. He just doesn't want it at 60 cents on a dollar. And I'm like, that's completely fine.
Yeah, and I don't blame him. I haven't sold any of my properties at 60 cents on a dollar typically. I mean, if I'm wholesaling it and I bought it at 50 cents on a dollar, sure. But anything that I've owned and had as a rental or fixed it up in any way, shape, or form, trying to get 90 to 100% on the dollar, maybe more even, right? Yeah. So I totally get it,
And I'll bring it back home on one of the deals that we're closing this week. The guy has been in our system 15 months, Dave. 15 months. He's been in our system since February 2022. And he had a tenant in place. And so we follow up. He was telling me, not now, not now, not now. And then at one point he just said, no, not selling. And then suddenly we put it back into a drip campaign where we followed him back up in the end of 2022. And he was like, well, the person is leaving in February. They were actually leaving in February of this year. And so he goes, I think I might want to sell this at the end of February. I don't want to deal with another tenant. So I would give this little gem for the audience. I love the owners that are also investors, because seller financing to them is such an easy idea to understand. Yep. They already understand the idea of cash flow, right? Yep. A seller, a home buyer, or a home owner, sometimes you have to be able to have some better phrasing and be able to really bring it down to like a 10-year-old level, third grade level kind of stuff. With an investor, somebody who's owned the property, you can have a little bit more of an intelligent conversation. They understand the concept of, well, my equity becomes the mortgage on that property. It's a little bit of an easier conversation. So this guy was like, well, I only want to sell for, retail value. At this area, it's like $250,000. I go, perfect. Are you willing to do these terms? And of course, after some back and forth, we were able to come up to a negotiation, but we were able to get a property at retail, and I'm happy about it.
Yeah, I think I love it, man. Yeah, you gotta have the ability to be a little flexible, and you gotta have the ability to give people other options. Otherwise, yeah, you're gonna be throwing leads in the trash can that could be something. Yeah. So I love it, man. Well, that's awesome, David. Thank you so much for your time today. Thanks for coming on the show. I know you've given us a lot of valuable, nuggets here today, guys. Check out David directly. David Pupo, and he is in Orlando, not in Miami. I'm sure if his cousin gets a message from one of you guys, he'll direct you over. But
I've let him know.
Yeah, let him know, man. Absolutely. Say, I'm on a podcast tour right now, bro, and you may be getting some messages. Send me those people. I want to help those people out, man. Hook it up. But yeah, guys, also go check it out, tripleoffer.com. Very simple, very easy link to remember. Go check that out. And connect with David. He's a great real estate investor. I've known him for several years. Like I said earlier, I've ran into him multiple times at different mastermind events. And I know he's the real deal, because these mastermind events I'm referring to aren't free. They cost money to go to: travel, hotel, flights, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 sometimes tickets to get in the room. And, I've seen him at multiple of them. So I know if he's investing in himself, he knows what he's doing. Obviously, he's got rentals and multiple students that he's helping already. So, yeah, Dave, awesome, man. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your time today. And again, guys, check it out, tripleoffer.com. Signing off.
Thanks for bringing me on, brother.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Discount Property Investor Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to help us reach a wider audience. To jumpstart your real estate investing career, please visit freewholesalecourse.com, the most complete free course on wholesaling real estate ever. We would also appreciate it if you left us a review on iTunes or Stitcher. Thank you in advance for your support, and remember, you make your money when you buy, and you get paid when you sell. Now let's go build some wealth.